Okay, so this is the Rambam's Mishneh Torah. We're in the second book, Sefer Ahavah, and we're in Hilchot, Tefillin, Mezuzah, and Sefer Torah, the laws of Tefillin, Mezuzah, and Sefer Torah. So, chapter 7, Perek Zayin, it is a positive mitzvah upon every man in Israel to write a Torah scroll for himself, as it states, and now write for yourselves this song, which means write the entire Torah, which includes this song, meaning Ha'azinu. That's where it's located. Since separate portions of the Torah may not be written individually. Even if one was left a Torah scroll by his forefathers, it is a mitzvah to write his own. If one wrote it by his own hand, it is as if he received it from Sinai. If one does not know how to write, others may write for him. One who corrects even one letter of a Torah scroll is considered to have written it entirely. A king is commanded to write another Torah scroll for himself for the sake of the king, in addition to the scroll which he has as a commoner, as it states, and it shall be when he sits upon his royal throne, he shall write for himself. It is examined for accuracy against the scroll kept in the temple courtyard by the great Sanhedrin. The one which he had as a commoner he keeps in his treasury, while the one which he wrote or had written for him after becoming king must be with him constantly. If he goes out to war, this Torah scroll goes with him. When he comes back, it comes with him. When he sits in judgment, it is with him. When he reclines to eat, it must be facing him. As it states, and it shall be with him, and he shall read from it all the days of his life. If he did not have his own Torah scroll before becoming king, he must write two Torah scrolls after becoming king, one to be kept in his treasury and the second to be with him constantly. It may never be away from him except at night, or when he enters the bathhouse or the lavatory, goes to sleep on his bed. The Torah scroll which was written without being rolled, meaning lines like lines impressed, or which was written partially on gavil and partially on cloth. So gavil is the full grain parchment and cloth is the inner grain parchment. It is unfit. So if it's on gavil and cloth, it's unfit for use. It must either be completely on gavil or completely on cloth. How must a Torah scroll be written? One must write in proper, very beautiful script. One must leave a space the size of a small letter between every word. Between every line, a space equivalent to the height of one line must be left. And the length of each line should be 30 letters long, enough to write Limish bechotehem 3 times. This should be the width of every column. No line should be shorter than this, so that the column not look like a formal letter, nor may it be longer than this, so that one's eyes do not wander over the writing. One may not make the script smaller in order to leave more space between portions, for the sake of the 9-letter break between portions. If one happens upon a 5-letter long word near the end of a line, one may not write 2 letters within the column and 3 outside the column, but should instead write 3 letters within the column and 2 jutting outside the column. If there is not enough space in the row to write 3 letters, one leaves the space empty, continues at the beginning of the next line. If one happens to have a 2-letter word to write, he may not toss it between the columns, but must go down to the beginning of the next line. If one happens to have a 10-letter word, more or less, to write when nearing the end of a column, and there is not enough space in the line to write it entirely within the column, if half of it can be written within the column and half will protrude from the column, he may write it. If not, he must leave an empty space and begin from the start of the next line. Between each of the 5 books of the Torah, one must leave 4 empty lines without any writing, no less and no more. One should begin the new book at the start of the 5th line. Upon completing the Torah, one must complete it in the middle of the final line of the column. If there are many lines left in the column, he should make the lines progressively shorter by beginning in the middle of the line without finishing the full line. His aim should be that the words Le'enei Kol Yisrael be in the middle of the final line in the column. One must pay heed to the large letters and the small letters, into the dotted letters, into letters with the unusual forms such as the curved pay and the italicized letters, according to the tradition passed down among scribes from one to the next. One must pay heed to the crowns in their number. Some letters have a single crown, some have 7. All the crowns are formed like the letter Zayin and are as thin as a hair's breadth. All these things are only stated as a preferred way of fulfilling the mitzvah. If one changed anything or was not precise with the crowns but wrote all the letters correctly, or made the lines closer or further from each other, or made them longer or shortened them, as long as the letters are not joined to each other, and he did not subtract or add any letters, and did not deform any letter, and did not change the opened or closed portions, as will be explained ahead, the scroll is kosher. There are other points which are not stated in the Talmud, but are the accepted practice of the scribes, and are a tradition passed down among them from one to the next. They are that the number of lines in each column should not be fewer than 48, nor any more than 60. That the empty space between each portion should be 9 letters long, like the words Asher, Asher, Asher. That the lines above the Song of the Sea should begin with the words Habayim, Bayabasha, Hashem, Meit, and B'Mitzrayim. That is 5 lines, and beneath the song, the 5 lines of each of which begins as Vatikach, Achareha, Sus, Vayetzu, Vayavo'u. In the lines above the song of Ha'zinu should begin the Eda, Acharei, Hadarech, Ba'acharit, Ha'achiso, in Kihal, 6 lines, and beneath it 5 lines. V'yavo, Ledaber, Asher, Hazot, Asher. So all these matters are for the forward performance of the mitzvah. If one varies from them, the scroll does not become unfit. But if one wrote a full spelling word in short spelling, or a short spelled word in full spelling, or if one wrote a word which is read differently than the way it is written, according to the reading, for example, if one writes Yish Kavena rather than Yish Galena, or Uvat Chorim instead of Uva Folim, or the like, if one wrote an open portion as closed, or wrote a closed portion as open, or if one wrote the Song of the Sea, or Ha'zinu like the regular portions, or wrote another portion like the song, it has become unfit. And it does not have the sanctity of a Torah scroll at all, but rather is like a single one of the books of the Pentateuch from which children are taught. The Torah scroll which has not been checked may not be kept for longer than 30 days. Rather, it must be corrected or hidden away. A Torah scroll which has up to 3 inaccuracies in each column should be repaired. If it has 4, it should be hidden away. If most of the scroll was examined for accuracy and the remainder has 4 inaccuracies in each column, and even one column, the remaining inaccurate portion, does not contain 4 errors, the scroll should be repaired. When does this apply? That one should not make more than 4 repairs per column. If a full spelling word was written with short spelling, he must therefore insert the forgotten letters between the lines. But if one wrote short spelled words in full spelling, even if there are several errors in each column, one should repair them, as one can merely scrape off the additional letters and does not need to insert letters between the lines. It is permitted to write a Torah book by book, each one of the 5 books independently, though they do not have the sanctity of a complete Torah scroll. But one may not write a separate scroll which includes only several portions. One may not write an incomplete scroll for a child to study from, unless one intends to complete it to an entire book, in which case it is permitted. It is permitted to write an incomplete scroll with no more than 3 words on each line. It is permitted to combine the Torah, the prophets, and the scriptural writings into a single volume. When doing so, 4 lines must be left blank between each of the 5 books of the Torah. 3 lines must be left blank between each of the books of the prophets, including between the books of the 12 minor prophets. 3 lines must be left so that if one wishes to divide them, he will be able to do so. This is the order of the prophets: Yehoshua, Judges; Shmuel, Kings; Jeremiah, Yehezkel, Yeshaya, and the 12 minor prophets. And the order of the scriptural writings is Ruth, Tehillim, Yov, Mishlei, Kohelet, Shir HaShirim, Kinot, meaning Echa, Daniel, and Megillat Esther, Ezra, and Divrei Hayamim. All of Scripture may only be written on rolled stationery. Even when written on paper, it is permitted to write 3 letters without it being rolled. More than that, it is forbidden. A volume which includes the book of the Torah, the prophets, and the scriptural writings does not have the sanctity of a Torah scroll. Rather, it has the sanctity of one of the individual 5 books of the Torah. For the roll of a Torah scroll, which contains additions, is like the roll of a Torah scroll which is lacking any of the 5 books of the Pentateuch.